It's the third Saturday of the month, which means it's time for Game Club. This month we are talking about Boyfriend Dungeon. I'm your host, Boston, playing this on the Xbox Series X, joined as always by Moonpair.
Howdy, Xbox Series X for me too, of course. If you know me, you know.
And Musum.
Hello. My brain left me. PC on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, the reason I'm playing this on Series X is because this was on Game Pass, which is great. As part of the incredible list of 2021's Game Pass games.
I just told a lie because I'm a Kickstarter backer of this game and played it on Steam. I just see its logo every time I start up Game Pass, so in my mind, like I even booted it up once there, and I'm like, "What? Where's my? Oh."
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Let's break down all the details of the game here before we start. Released on August 11th, 2021, developed and published by Kit Fox Games. Released on PC, Switch, Xbox One, and Series S and X. Let me scroll down past all these pictures of beautiful people here that we have in the show notes. Talking about time travel, Metacritic 72, OpenCritic 74. Appears the release date. This just happened last month, so we're not really sure what are going to be the big games here. Probably of note for positive and negative reasons are the following three games: Axiom Verge 2, the console release of Hades, and 12 Minutes. Ask the question we always ask, though this one's a little bit squiffy here because it's so recent. Was this game top of the pile, middle of the pack, or overlooked?
Middle of the pack, because people were talking about it, but not to the same degree as they were. So I don't know, like a surprise Axiom Verge 2 drop in the middle of the year,
right?
Or how horrifically bad 12 Minutes is.
I feel like when the Kickstarter launched, everyone was like, "You did your swords, dope!" Like, yeah, and I feel like that enthusiasm kind of carried on for quite a while. But when it launched, everyone was like, "Yeah, this game's good."
Mm-hmm.
So I'd agree.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I agree with those statements. I feel like I'm too close to it to really be able to tell, but it seems like it had an appropriate level of people paying attention to it, and but I haven't been as plugged into video game news as I have been in past years, so I may be oblivious.
Right. All right, so spoiler warning for this one now that we're done with sort of the introductory area. Not all the games we play are sort of worthy of a spoiler alert, but this one is definitely very story heavy and it's brand new. So if you don't want to get spoiled on pretty much anything, then just dip on out, finish the game, come right back. We'll be here. We'll wait for you. Let's talk about what we liked, what we didn't like. Who wants to go first? Anyone have very strong feelings?
I get the feeling this is going to be a generally positive episode.
Largely.
Yeah.
Based on how I feel, and also knowing you two as well as I do, having known you for eternity, it feels like. I want to start with the bad.
Okay. So let's get it out of the way.
This came out at the same time as Hades.
Uh-huh.
Hades is a game with almost flawless combat.
Yes.
So shall we talk about the combat in this being just a little bit bad?
My biggest problem with this game is Hades' dodge button and this dodge button were not the same button. So like switching between the two was always just like what? Oh, okay, I got hit. Great.
So I made the mistake on playing on mouse and keyboard, and it's such a short game and I've been so lazy. It's just been like, I really don't like these mouse and keyboard controls. They hurt my hands. I should go get my Xbox controller. And then I don't do it.
It's like, another date with the cat. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like next day I come and I sit down and start playing, like, oh, right, I meant to get the controller. I should go do that. And then, oh, no.
Right.
The issue is your mouse controls which way your character faces in the dungeon.
Right.
Which is, it does not work very effectively, in my opinion, because your character still turns like he is being controlled by a D-pad,
Oh,
rather
interesting.
than
Okay.
like it's like I felt like it would have done better if they treated it like a twin stick shooter for PC, where you have maybe a target icon or something like that. But
Right, right.
but the rest of the buttons were mostly fine. I just had to remember there was a dodge button each session, which I
Yep.
seemingly forgot every time.
100%.
Yep, me too.
My big one was always, oh, right, I can use one of my zines. I completely forgot about those every single time.
I always forgot about them right up until I got the turret one, and then I just dropped those zines
Yep.
like I was in Metal Gear Solid.
Yep. I go into a room, toss down 3 of them. All right, I'm good.
Mhm.
I agree. I think the combat isn't... It controls okay. I wish... This is my criticism of, like, every game that has, like, a dodge roll. I wish it was faster. Like, I wish the combat was a little bit faster.
Mhm.
I think it was fine. It was serviceable. You know, like, I wasn't really fighting against it, but there was some times where I was like, maybe I shouldn't have gotten hit by that. All right, like, okay, maybe I should have hit that guy. I don't know. Okay. It wasn't satisfying, but it got from point A to point B.
Yeah, I wouldn't call them good, but I don't have any instances where I was angry at the game for how it controlled and
Yeah.
me dying or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
And to be honest, like the death is almost inconsequential.
Yeah.
Like
It's
this game
almost
could have been a visual novel, almost.
Yeah.
it's almost better that you die in the dungeon, because I think you get more experience points with that weapon if you do.
Yeah.
hmm
I think that's right. I think honestly, I think the only trouble I had in the combat was the end boss. And the first time I fought him, I got real far into it to the part where basically you just have to dodge stuff for a few minutes. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. And I was like, how do I
Yeah.
hurt him? I don't understand. And then I died. And the first phase of that fight, like I was using Valerie at the time,
Mhm.
and he was just one-shotting me. Like I probably died 5 or 6 times before I got back to dodging and got him out of that phase. And once you get him out of that phase, he's pretty easy. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I think my only struggle I ran into was just because of the leveling nature of it, is you'd kind of push far enough into the dungeon and then you'd really hit a brick wall where it's like, boy, these enemies are doing like half of my health and I'm doing no damage to them. You would die, you'd get like 10 levels, you'd go back in and you just wipe the floor with them until you hit the next brick wall. Like, it's standard RPG
Yup.
stuff, but
yeah,
I like that it kind of essentially like put its hand on your back and said like, okay, time to leave the dungeon. Let's go. Time to get back on a date. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I also played Kit Fox's previous game, Moon Hunters, which I still think is a wonderful game, but
Mhm.
like the difference in polish and quality between Moon Hunters and this game is like night and day.
Yeah.
Like this is, aside from maybe the short length of it, like this is very much feels like a high quality product for the most part to me.
Yeah.
Moon Hunters is very obviously an indie game in many
Right.
ways. You see the seams.
Right. Right. Yeah. I one of the things that I think was the most surprising about this game is I felt like, and I like this about the game is, even though the story presents you with a time limit, there really isn't one. It's like, you got to find a date before the end of the summer, before you go back to school. I was like, all right, let's buckle down. Let's clear these. Let's get on these dates. And the game is just like, yeah, I'm like, okay. Never ending summer until you do the final boss thing. Whatever. Go on some dates.
Yep.
I do wish they had broke the fourth wall and spelled that out. Because when I reached the end where they're like, go to the dungeon, and then your mom's like, or you don't have to do anything, it's fine. And I'm like, crap, does that mean I'm going to run out after X many tries? Like, how many of these weapons can I max out?
Yeah, the whole social link thing kind of nature of this game had me feeling like a Persona game. I was like, no, there is a time limit here. As if it's an ode to Persona, that means I'm going to run out of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is even more wild because of the overworld map is very much a Shin Megami Tensei game. Like,
Mhm.
100%. And playing it and wandering around that map is just like, okay, this is real weird. Like this this was not a reference I was expecting, but it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, talking about that map, generally speaking, I don't have a problem with it.
Hmm.
However, we need to talk about the fact that I literally did not unlock Rowan until I was at the final dungeon, because Rowan's origin point is off the screen.
Yeah, their beginning part is like all the way north off the screen in the game. I was just wandering up there for poops and giggles, and I saw something to do, and it'd be nice if the game was just like, hey, there's something on the edges of the map. You can't. There's a winery down here. Do you want to go there? It's like, oh, okay, oh, sure.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
would have
the
been
only
nice if they
reason-
had a little like red arrow or thing
Yeah.
pointing to
Yes.
dates that were off map.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, the only reason I knew about Rowan being there was because there was an achievement for using every single one of the weapons.
Hmm.
And I was at like 78%, and I was like, I'm missing one. I don't know where they are, but I'm missing one.
Yep.
So I went exploring.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I only maxed out 3 of them because I went for Valerie, Rowan, and I can't remember their name. Sawyer.
Oh, okay.
I-
Yeah, my lead ones were excuse me. The one that I romanced was Valeria, and the other one that I liked was Rowan. I clicked with Rowan really, and obviously Pocket. Pocket is incredible.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, Pocket.
Yeah.
Who didn't pick Pocket? Like,
Yeah,
and
like
honestly,
Pocket's great.
Pocket's combat abilities are amazing too. Like some of these,
Yeah.
the ones I did were based off of their combat abilities. Like as a character, I like Isaac a lot. I did not like his gameplay though.
No,
Yep,
it's sort
same.
of a bummer they gave him to you first because it's like, this is okay. Like to be clear, I 1,000 pointed this game, so like I maxed out all of the weapons. But like,
Okay, so basically from the room as a whole, Musum is the only one throwing up rookie numbers with 3.
well, I think
My bad, guys.
I honestly they do a really smart thing with once you like max out one person, you get supercharged like what is it, double or triple experience with all the other ones. So like
Yep.
that was you go in with like a couple of nice gifts and you can max out one person in just one dungeon run. Like that's really smart because I didn't want to keep doing that.
That's what I did with Rowan, because I unlocked Rowan at the very end. Everybody else was already maxed out, and I had so many gifts that like literally I would go into a dungeon with Rowan, find a rest spot, because it also unlocks the cap at the end of the bars. It's something worth mentioning too.
Yep.
So it's not a case of get to 90, leave the dungeon, then start from fresh. It's like, no, if you give them a gift that gets them to like 99, then you get +9 on that next one.
Yeah.
So I would go into the dungeon with Rowan, give them a gift, get them to the max, keep going until I can escape the dungeon. But every time I get to one of those stop points, I would give them a gift. So I literally started from scratch. And then when I left the dungeon, it was like date, done.
Yeah. I'm glad I found Rowan early because like I thought Isaac's story was pretty okay, but it wasn't really clicking with me. I liked Valeria, and her story turned out to be way more interesting than I thought. But like Rowan being like the spooky peep with this cool crow, I was like, all right, yeah, that's my jam. Let's do this. Oh, there's Scythe, incredible.
Rowan had a wonderful way of speaking to they like it was just that overly dramatic, like
Or
not
Steve.
quite
You could say
old
goth.
English style.
You could say gothic, because 2 of the people in this room at least used to be goths.
Yeah. We'll always have a little goth in our hearts.
I thought I was really going to enjoy 7, and I really disliked his gameplay so much that I didn't. Yeah,
I actually kind of didn't like his story either. I feel like if I liked K-pop, it feels like that was kind of a stereotypical K-pop storyline. I feel like I probably would have liked it a little bit more, but I feel like there was with so many of the other characters, you go through like a really great arc, and I feel like Seven's arc, number one, Lucky Seven is the number of the as the name of the group that he makes with Lucky is incredible, and that's great. But like, I didn't have that push to care as much with him as I did with some of the other guys.
I did not like him at all, to be
Yeah.
honest. No, that could be my K-pop hatred influence showing.
Mm-hmm.
It could also be because legitimately I just wasn't a huge fan of his personality.
Yeah.
He's very standoffish, which as someone who is standoffish usually appeals to me, but for whatever reason it didn't in Seven's case.
Right.
I feel like I've been, just because I wound up at the convention circuit in town so often, like I've been exposed to a lot of K-pop stuff. So I was excited at like, oh, cool, here's this ridiculous character that could be a member of Big Bang or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was, I don't know. And plus, like, I get excited when there are musicians in games, but he was a little hard to put up with. Honestly.
Yeah.
You might say he was a little manufactured for your taste, maybe.
Heyo. The only other character I liked less was Sawyer. Sawyer is my least favorite because for me, one of the biggest things is they seemed really young, like way younger than everybody else in the roster in this game, and that left me feeling a little bit uncomfortable.
This is probably going to shoot over the head of anybody who's younger who's listening, but this is the anime, yes, I'm 18 video game kind of trope that we are all aware of because
I'm a
we are
400-year-old dragon. Wink.
It's that. And
yeah.
to be honest, like he was 50-50 for me. There was two people I was immediately like, nope, no relationship with you. Let's just be friends. Yeah. And that was Seven and Soya.
Yep.
Mostly with Soya, it was because he was so clingy.
Yeah, they like, I don't know, the whole thing left me feeling a little bit cold because they're freaking out all the time. You're kind of like saving the scene where you go to their college or whatever and like help them talk to their professor. I'm like, this is an overstep. I don't feel comfortable doing this at all. But
it's a job for a grown-up.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, I am a grown-up. Oh, you're such a kid.
So these are the mental gymnastics I took to enjoying Sawyer as a character. Is Sawyer came off to me like kind of a punk kid. Like they seemed like someone who might be homeless, whose primary concern was, you know, some sort of concerts and partying, so they didn't even like know the basics of taking care of themselves.
Sure.
So for me, it just was a very naive 18 plus early 20s something person.
Right.
And going through that, like there was some charm to it for me, I guess, for it. Like Sawyer was definitely not my favorite, but I didn't dislike the character.
Right.
But or at least not like you guys did.
I mean,
but I get it.
I don't dislike Sawyer. I think they're well written. Like I think all of the characters in this game are well written. There was that like me putting them at an arm's length where it's just like you seem very young compared to everybody else in this game.
It's true. Especially when you put Sawyer next to someone like Isaac or
I run my own finance company. What do you do? And it's just like, oh boy, all right, that's a grown up. Jeez. Okay, cool. Yeah. I did call Sunder's thing pretty early, where Sunder and who's his friend? Mandy.
Oh, the lady vampire.
Yeah, the lady vampire where they're acting weird. I'm like, yeah, they're vampires. And Sunder's like, I have a secret to tell you. And I was like, I bet you're a vampire. Is that right? And he's like, oh yeah, it is. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Your weapon is great because it steals life. I like that. 2 thumbs up. I romanced Valeria, largely because she seemed super cool. And turns out, I'm like a cool Banksy, just making cool murals across the world. And I was like, yeah, man, let's go on an adventure. Me and my dagger lady. Let's do this.
I really liked her combat play. And honestly,
Mhm.
like the introduction to characters in the game, like the first characters you meet, aside from Isaac or Sunder, who is a little bit too strong. And like I found like a lot of the initial like interactions with some of the male characters like educational in a way. Like I had
Yes.
never hit on a woman like any of them did.
You
But
never sent a sword pick on a nice
yeah,
little pillow.
I
Mhm.
I did not.
No.
But it made me experience like some of these like aggressive, male
Yeah.
tactics for hitting on women like I had never experienced before.
Right.
And like between him and Creepster Eric,
Yeah, the sort of the elephant in the room that we have not yet spoken about is both Pocket the
Yeah.
cat and Eric the garbage human.
the one that had the entire reason the game has trigger warnings.
Yeah, and like the
Yep.
entire reason that the game now is sort of infamous is because of Eric's creepiness, and then some people on the internet maybe not understanding that.
He's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, like he's the bad guy, and also like if you haven't played visual novels before, this is how visual novels go. There's always some bad guy who's really gross, but there has to be a bad guy. And Eric super sucked, like 100%. And it was really very great defeat. I don't know how I feel about the katana stuff. I
Mm,
think it's done okay. Like I like the idea of the big mystery in the game is you keep finding all these weapons and they're chipped and cracked when you get to them, and they're like, yeah, someone like knocked me out and tossed me in the dungeon. I need to go get fixed because like I'm missing a bunch of pieces. But the fact that
Mhm.
katana is like the mishmash of all of those fragments and pieces, I think it's kind of neat. But I think there's something about the design that I wish it like was more of an amalgamation of the individual weapons.
yeah.
I can't.
The character design was
can't-
not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hated the katana character design to the point where I can't remember their name, but it's very much brought me to flashbacks to the OG Naruto series
Yeah.
with the main
Yes.
bad guy who turns into the snake.
Uh-huh.
Like it reminded me of them, and I was
It's like
just
Yoichi something or something like that. Yeah.
Oichimaru, maybe.
It's something
Who
like
knows?
that.
Right.
Yeah, like the main bad guy. Yeah, I was trying to think of what he reminded me of, and
Snake.
now, yes, a Naruto villain.
Yeah,
It
it is
just
Oichimaru.
There you
in a
go.
game with fantastic like the art and character design in this thing, I think is off the charts. To have Katana be such a not great, like, Katana doesn't need to be cool, like style. Like he just needed, with all the style the game has, I expected kind of the same level of style applied to that villain, and I didn't feel like it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I thought Eric's storyline resolved okay. I think it sucks in a very real world way that he will not leave you alone no matter how many times you tell him very clearly, dude, leave me alone, you suck and you're the worst.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't need a gift of steel outside my house on my birthday.
No,
Thank you very much.
don't like you knowing where I live. Don't like you being weird to literally everybody. Oh, look, he's at the party. Great. I think that stuff I think that's part of the reason why it is so bothersome for a lot of people, is because this is the real life that a lot of people, especially women nowadays, are leading, which is just like, yeah, cool, no thanks, jerk. And they're like, oh yeah, you're so funny. Anyways, here's a sword picture. Just like, that's Jesus God, no. Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's sort of a positive and sort of a negative that Eric himself never really gets any comeuppance. Like at the end, you can tell him like, dude, you really need to go to therapy. And he's like, yeah, I agree. I'm not a great person. It's like, but can I punch him like once? Like he needs like one real good punching. So I thought that was a little bit of a bummer, but
yeah. that was it. I don't know. I wish he had either wielded katana or like there's more of a joint thing where you could fight Eric as a boss,
Right.
like
Right.
because he's in a game where violence is your method of therapy.
Right. Right. Right.
Why can't you apply it to the main villain? But
yeah, you kind of like shove him out of the way, and you're like, "All right, Jesse, do your thing." And it's like, yeah. I mean, the whole. I feel like the only I don't have an issue with Boyfriend Dungeons, game length. I feel like it's good. I probably would have liked a third dungeon, but I'm not entirely sure if that would have had the game overstay its welcome. I wish the ending scene was a little bit longer because it feels like it's kind of you get maybe like one or two text boxes from everybody and they're like, all right, enjoy it, peace, and then you're like on a plane. It's like, yeah, I wish there was a little bit like I know you're kind of leaving it open to be like, I'll see you again next summer, but like I wish there was, especially with like the one or many people you kind of romanced, I wish there was a little bit more with them as kind of a more than a like I'll see you later sort of thing.
So this will be one experience I had that you guys didn't, is that end scene when it goes through all the characters, their responses vary to you
good engine
dependent on the affection level.
Right. Oh, interesting. Okay.
So like, for instance, I didn't have Sawyer quite maxed out. So I think Sawyer gave me a hug. I think Rowan and Valerie were both going to come see me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like, and I can't remember what Pockets was, but everyone else like basically was just like, yeah, good being friends with you type of thing.
Nice meeting you. Peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should also be noticed, if you're listening to this in the future, we are missing two characters, two weapons. Those were part of the Kickstarter thing, but they didn't put them in the game for launch because they wanted to launch, quote, sometime before 2025, end quote. So the two people you meet at the party, at the cookout.
The axe.
Yeah, the axe and I don't remember what the woman turns into. Both of them will be DLC characters in the future.
And there will be a third dungeon with that DLC.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, so we'll see a more fleshed out kind of experience. Yeah, I liked Boyfriend Dungeon a lot. It'll probably end up in my top 10 list this year. I don't think it'll be vying for top spot, but it's a cool, unique thing. Like it's this dating sim, visual novel, SMT, dungeon crawling, hack and slash sort of crafting thing, with a Game Boy Advance game in there. It's a cool mishmash of a lot of stuff, and I think it does everything really well. But I think there's all these little issues, like the combat's not super great. It's a little bit short. Eric sucks real bad, but for positive and negative reasons. Like there's all kind of asterisks all over the whole thing. And I think that sort of, for me, it turns it from like an absolute recommend to like, yeah, you should play it. I think it's a cool thing, but like you might or might not like it, but spend less than 10 hours blowing through it.
I'm kind of the opinion that like just for educational reasons, like dudes should play this game. Like if you're a dude, go pick up this game and play it, and then think about like how you hit on women.
Yeah, think about how not to be gross. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved this game. I will, if they make a sequel, I will play it. If I will play it again with the DLC, and maybe this time I'll max out all the characters. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I'm happy with what I did in the game. Like Valerie was a really cool character to know. Rowan was really cool. Like I enjoyed all the weird cat hijinks, although I'm not sure that I sent Pocket on the right path in life.
Did you max out Pocket?
I must have missed Pocket's last level or something.
Because Pocket's last one,
I felt like I was encouraging Pocket to beat up the other cat, and Pocket didn't seem capable of it.
I encouraged Pocket to also beat up the other cat, and I won't spoil Pocket's last level
It's-
with you, but it is
pretty
truly
great.
special. It is really good. Oh.
I'll just have to load it up. I must have not gotten Pockets, which is
You would
unfortunate.
remember it. It is very memorable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Moon, what are your sort of final thoughts here for Boyfriend Dungeon?
It's pretty solid. Like it's a good, solid all around. Like it was digestible. That was the thing for me.
Yeah.
Like this was a digestible game. And once I started, I did play a lot of it, like in a short period of time. So it definitely gave me that,
Mm-hmm. It's hard to put down.
Yes. So it definitely helped me with that kind of stuff. But like, all in all, it's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. We have played worse by a long
That's
shot.
for sure.
Yeah.
Cough Tokyo 42. Cough, cough, cough. I do have to say, as a quick aside, I don't think I mentioned it, but I did like the loop of going into the dungeon, coming back out, talking with a bunch of people, going on a date, going back in the dungeon. Like, I liked that whole loop of kind of hopping back and forth between the two different types of gameplay. Like, I thought that was done really well. You kind of never get sick of either one of them.
I mean, it's Persona
Yes.
without the punishment. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, man.
Yep. No, it's okay. All told, I did genuinely speaking have a lot of fun with this. Like I did. It was a good, enjoyable kind of chilled out experience. Like obviously harassment aside,
Yeah.
it was pretty solid.
Yeah.
And it was fun to just like sit there and play it for a while and have fun.
And it's nice to be. It's easy to be cynical about a lot of games in 2021. It's nice to be like done with a game in under 10 hours. That's a real good feeling, game developers. I feel a lot more positively about your game if you don't stretch it out to 400 hours with a season pass. So
Definitely
keep it up.
And I hope more people played it than normally because it's on Xbox Game Pass. Like,
Yep. And I have a sneaking suspicion that the Switch version did pretty well. It seems like a lot of people played it, so I'm hoping a lot of people enjoyed it. I hope it did really well so Kitfox can continue to make cool and different stuff. Because it seems like a lot of their ideas between Moon Hunters and this, like they have a lot of cool different ideas where it's like, yeah, I have definitely never played a visual novel where it's a romance sim where I'm dating weapons. Okay, I will good or bad, I will definitely check that out. So hopefully this did well enough to kind of keep them going. Let's talk about our next game, though. Amisun was kind enough to remind us before we record the show that it is Spooky Month upcoming here, which will be at the end of this next episode will be well into Spooky Month. So why don't we play something that's a little bit spooky? And we decided on Vampire the Masquerade Coteries of New York. This came out on PC, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. I played probably about 2 hours of this or so, and it seemed really cool so far. It's one of those kind of visual novels, one of those like choice-driven visual novels where it's like, ugh, I don't think I'm making the right choices. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, things are going bad. But Vampire the Masquerade Coteries of New York. We'll be playing that for Spooky Month here. Hope you'll join us. And we'll see you all next month. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.